All right, I know I'm a few days late with this, but Ange Postecoglou was sacked by Tottenham, and that might come as a bit of a surprise to most people, considering this is a club that famously doesn't win trophies, is oftentimes made fun of for not winning trophies, and Ange Postecoglou delivered them their greatest triumph, their greatest bit of happiness as a club in 17 years at least, but even then it was like a League Cup, and I think a European title is significantly more, oh my God, we did it, than a league title. And so this is probably Tottenham's biggest triumph this century by far. That was the manager that did that. So you may think to yourself, why would a club get rid of the manager who did that for a club that isn't bathed in triumph and glory? This isn't Manchester United, where if you have a bad season, we have years and years and years of total dominance for us to say that you're not getting the job done. I actually love the move by Tottenham. I respect it because let's not forget that Tottenham finished 17th in the Premier League. They are the worst team in the Premier League that didn't get relegated, and they were this close to getting relegated, but the three teams that got relegated were abysmal, absolutely abysmal. 22 losses in the Premier League, went out the FA Cup, went out the Carabao Cup, even horrible performances in the Europa League, to be honest. They just played against teams that were way worse than them, like Bodo Glimt and a horrible Manchester United team, which is just as bad as Tottenham, maybe even worse. Ange Postecoglou did not play great football. They didn't scout players well. All they had was a bunch of kids come in, like Archie Gray and Jed Spence. They didn't collectively assemble the roster the best they can, and a bunch of their guys got injured. But I've always said this, I don't believe that injuries just happen coincidentally. There is a very good chance that injuries happen because of the way that you manage, because maybe you're running your players into the ground. The same thing always happened with Bukayo Saka. He was injured, always looked like he was limping, as many people said. Well, maybe it's because he plays like every game. He played like every game for 2 straight seasons, was very durable, but now he's injured like crazy. There's nothing that you can really say other than the fact that you've overused him, so now he gets hurt. And that's a fault of Ange Postecoglou. He's obsessed with his highline style football, and that works when you have, great backs like Mickey van der Ven and Pedro Porro and Destiny Udogie. I say great, but speedy and durable. But one pass, one ball, and they immediately get burned. He has such a rigorous style of play where it's like if you don't have the personnel to match it, it will falter. So I like the move by Tottenham from the standpoint of, look, you gave us a trophy. Thank you. We appreciate that. We'll build a mural of you. We maybe built a statue of you. But we cannot continue to play this brand of football because chances are what's likely going to happen? We're going to be just as bad, maybe 13th or 14th in the Premier League next season, not win the Europa League again because everything had to go right for them to do it. If you watch the final, it was one of the worst football matches that you will ever see in your entire life. Get out both of the cups once again. Obviously, what am I saying? They're in the Champions League. Ugh, that's such a weird rule, by the way. They're in the Champions League. They're going to get mollywopped in the Champions League. They're going to do horribly in the Premier League. And it's just going to be the same thing again. And they're just going to sack him early in the season. Manchester United tried this with Erik ten Hag. They were like Erik ten Hag. They were 8th in the Premier League. -1 goal difference in 23-24. Erik ten Hag, they decided to keep him because they won the FA Cup over City. And City were probably still drunk because they had just won the Premier League, so they didn't really care about the game. But they decided to keep Ten Hag because it's like, yo, we won a trophy. And he had gotten them 2 trophies. And then the start of this season was one of the worst starts in Man United history, and then they sacked him. So it's like, wouldn't it have been better if they just sacked him in the summer? Because chances are this pattern of play was going to continue. And then you had Ruben Amorim come in who did just as bad, and I don't even think it's fully his fault. He didn't have a squad, his players, his personnel. He wasn't able to identify the way that they like to play football. So there's no way that I believe you can fully assess a manager without giving them a summer. I'm not saying that summer has to be their first summer coming in or their second summer coming in. They need a proper summer where they're able to identify their players, get them, and also implement their system of play. If you come mid-season, you can't fully implement your system of play. The players are already used to doing one thing. But for the Tottenham to sack Ange and say the next manager that comes in, we're going to give him a summer. We're going to give him a preseason. We're going to give him, hopefully, some money to spend new players. I know Tottenham have some of the worst owners in the Prem, but hopefully give them some money to sign new players and just build the culture in the squad that they want to do and fully turn the tide around. Because yes, you have a Europa League trophy, but you were so abysmal in the Premier League, losing to Ipswich, losing to relegation fodder consistently. made sense, and I'm proud that Tottenham did it and didn't just get caught up in the trophy lull like many fans would. A lot of fans would say like, yeah, I was Ange out, but then I didn't know how it felt to win a trophy. They didn't know how it felt, obviously. So now I'm Ange in, you know what I mean? But glad that Tottenham did this. I don't know who they're going to get. Let's see who they get. There's definitely some calls that have been made by the owners already. There's a lot of good ones out there. I've heard Thomas Frank be wriggled around. I've heard Xavi be mentioned. Let's see what happens. I don't really know, but whoever the manager is, you give them a full summer, and you give them a checkbook to open up their players and see what they can do. Because clearly, Tottenham's players should be better than 17th in the Premier League. They should. I'm not saying they should challenge, for the Champions League or maybe even the Europa League, but should they be in the top half of the table? Absolutely. So let's see if another manager can improve that, because yes, the trophy was a great moment, but don't let a great moment sully a negative 8-9 months. And I'm glad that Tottenham did that. And let's see what the future holds for them. Wow.